Hello, good Tuesday morning, everybody. It is your buddy Chapadong. It is Tuesday, August 4th. This is the MLB Rundown brought to you by DFSArmy.com. One-stop shopping, all things daily fantasy sports, all sites, all sports, all slates, all coaches, everything included for one price. Head down to the comments section, DFSArmy.com. Use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Get that 20% off discount. Start building better lineups today. We want to help you. I show you the MLB rundown on a daily basis. Obviously, follow me on social media, like, subscribe to the video, give me a little thumbs up, notification to turn them on so when videos drop to your phone, you get them. Everybody's got 10 minutes. I try to keep these things under 10 minutes. If you can smoke a cigarette, you got 10 minutes to spare. I'd rather you watch a Chapadog video. It's better for your health. Head to the MLB Research Station for your first stop in your research process. You come down here to the starting pitching tab. You call all these guys up to the top. You knock off the earlier slates. You focus on just the main, and you bring the K-score guys to the top. Anything over 500 is pretty good. So Max Fried or Lance Lynn and above is where I would start. And I'm looking for K-score that doesn't drop off too much, but does give me a price discount off of a Scherzer type. So Giolito gets blown up a little too much probably for cash considerations, but he's in play for tournaments for sure. Woodruff, Lamet, these guys are all in play. They give you a good couple of $1,000 discount off of Max Scherzer. They get you into Coors Field if Colorado is still at home with San Francisco. Yep, they still are. So this would be where a lot of people are probably going to head. I would also consult our Domination Station Optimizer. It has ownership projections in it later on this afternoon that can help fine-tune that process. Yesterday, the ownership projections got us off of Garrett Cole for GPP pivots onto Jacob deGrom. It also got us to understand that everybody was choosing Frankie Montas to get Coors exposure last night with Dickerson, Longoria, Story, Arenado, Blackman, Matt Kemp, etc. These are all the guys that were going to be in the cash lineups last night, and you needed to get as many of them as you could. So coming down off of Cole was a safe, sensible pivot based on the fact that you were insulated by ownership in the field. Cole is the better pitcher, there's no doubt. But because everybody else was going to Frankie Montas to cram in Coors bats, it made it a fine cash play. This is going to be a little bit similar today, depending on how much people want to get into Coors Field. Max Scherzer is the safest pitcher on the slate. It's just whether or not you want to save $1,500 to $2,000 and get some better bats, get into Coors Field. And ownership projections will help you determine where the majority of players are going to go. And for cash games, you can hide within that chalk very, very easily. You're hard to beat. If you just take the highest owned players every day that you can find, you're hard to beat on a day-to-day basis. Let the people that don't have access to this information screw up by pivoting off of this and pivoting off of that and basically screwing themselves, okay? That's one way to go. Another way in your tournaments is to use that ownership to then find some of the pivots like that DeGrom last night or like some of those other bats like a DJ LeMahieu in a Yankee stack. It's also in a great stack, or getting off of them entirely and getting onto the Oakland or the Chicago White Sox last night instead of Minnesota, Coors Field, Yankees, whatever. We're going to be the higher owned stacks. And that's how we're going to show you how to play inside the coaching forums of DFSArmy.com. In the meantime, once I've found those pitchers that are viable that I might be looking for, I'm going to come over here to WScore. I'm going to sort by ascending order, put the schleps at the bottom, 500 and below. All of the pink numbers are in play. So Gausman and lower. Lamet is a tough one. Haney is a tough one. Matz is a contact pitcher. But when I look at these guys, low home runs per 9, but here it's starting to get up here in these middle three. Who is that? Matz, Singer, and Gausman are your kind of Singer, Matz, and Haney look like kind of the gas cans on the slate that can really blow up and let one get out of the yard. Another one that I would watch is Justin Dunn here. Small sample size, but he's got a lot of big numbers so far. So if I'm looking at those types of players, Justin Dunn, Angels stacks, right? Gausman, Colorado in Coors, mind you. Let's check his fly ball percentage really quick. See, sometimes we can look at a little bit different numbers, but generally speaking, what we're looking for is just this right here. This catch-all metric tells us all we need to know. Gausman, 35% fly ball percentage, not terrible. If it was in the 40s, I'd be really loving the guy to stack against, that is. But you've got Colorado, Chicago, Washington, Seattle, Houston, LA. Remember, these bottom two were not exactly giving up the home runs, but these middle three were Singer, Matz, and Haney. So Seattle, Washington, Chicago, and maybe LA. maybe a little bit of Coors. Probably where I'm going to be putting a lot of my weight in my stacks for GPPs. It just makes sense to target the bad pitchers with teams that can put up a lot of WOBA themselves, or ISO if you find that number too. Come down into the into the batting matchups now. If I come over to the batting matchups, do the same thing, knock out those 3 early slates. I sort by W score, which I've already done for us. And I come over here and I take a look at who's popping. LA, LA, LA. Couple of Chicago bats, 4 or 5 LA bats, and that's really about it. So that verifies that LA facing Justin Dunn is in a good spot. LA should be a pretty hefty portion of your stacks tonight. If you're running 100, 150 lineups, you might want to put 10 or 15% stacks on them and then start bouncing around the rest of the world. If you really want to go balls out and put a lot of faith in them, 20, 25% stacks. That's okay. If you're the type of player that really likes to take a stand and when the core goes off, push that core through the money line and cash in a lot of contests, there you go. That would be one of the areas that I would start digging today into my research. So if I come through and look for the top positional plays, I'm looking at Wilson Contreras, Jason Castro. Fegley looks good if he starts. I'm going to come down here. I'm actually going to, I made a mistake in my order. I'm going to come down. I'm going to turn that back off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put a filter on that WOBA score. I really don't want to see too many low numbers. I don't want to have to scroll through all of the pages to really mess with things. So if I put a filter on it, greater than, say, about 575. 580 and over works for me. It still has a lot of choices overall, but now when I go position by position, it really cuts the fluff. Except for the fact that it didn't. I don't know why the filter didn't take effect, but it didn't. So we'll just have to do it manually right now. Just the top 2 guys are who I'd be looking at, and that's Contreras and Castro. Not that the others are trash. They can fit in as part of my stacks and whatnot, but these are the 2 that I would boost in my optimizer. I would boost their projections 10, 15, 20%. Make sure the optimizer sees them first, pulls them forward, and they end up in a lot of my one-offs when they're not included in a stack. Same thing at first base. So since we're not going to do the filter thing, scroll over and take a look at where's the 580. Uh-oh. Don't have a lot of top first baseman on the slate today, so there might not be a lot of one-off first baseman. These guys might all just be included in their stacks. Probably wouldn't write down or boost anybody off of that list. That's odd for first base. Second base. Scroll back over. Got some big ones here, 580-ish and above. So Rengifo, whatever the hell you pronounce, however you pronounce his name, don't care. I don't know the guy personally. Lastea, Altuve, Kira, Kenrick, Goofy Guy. You know, and we just keep moving. You write those names down, you go boost them in your optimizer. Hopefully you get some as one-offs. You double check these. A lot of people ask about the optimizers too. So we come down here, 600 above, Thais. For those of you that are sick of pronouncing the hurricane Isaias, is that right? I keep hearing Isaias, and it's not right. It's Isaias. Bregman, Bryant, Seager, Bote, Thais, maybe some McNeil. Those are the places that I would key. I'll talk about the optimizer here in a second. Just running through these for you so you guys can write these down and understand that this tool works over the long run. Up only one guy, Mr. Baez. Trevor Story's facing Mad Bum. Unless he has great BVP against Mad Bum, I'd probably lay off of him for that price in Coors. Because otherwise you're chasing the bullpen and you're only going to get 1 or maybe 2 at-bats against the bullpen. And that cuts your chances of scoring points in half. For that price, it's quite the gamble. Look at the, okay, we're down here into the 570s already, but if we came down into roughly, say, Jorge Soler and above, I'm looking at Soler, Peterson, Conforto, Betts, Yastrzemski, Almora, Blackman, Bellinger. Joey Gallo's a bomb threat at all times. Yelich, Gurriel, Goodwin. Goodwin at the top is really, really interesting, but note it's the LA guys that are popping. So once I've got those guys written down and boosted them in my optimizer, then I can set up my team stacks and I can take those one-offs as need be, and they'll pop in and out of there. I can keep running the optimizer again and again and again because I'm going to want to, oh my God, I got 50% Goodwin. I don't want that much. I want more like 35% because he's 25% owned and I'll take a little bit of leverage on him. Whatever. Oh, I see 40% Christian Yelich. We know he's been off to a bad start. 40% is way too much. I'm getting 40% in my optimizer because he's the third highest rated outfielder on the day. But I don't want that much of him. So what do? I put a max exposure cap on him and say 20%, cut him to half the field. I know he can go off. I know he can break a slate. I know he hit, fairly well last night, so maybe he is heating up. But I still don't want. I want to bank when ownership is way, way, way high. In a volatile random sport like baseball, I want to cut my projections. I want to cut my ownership to these guys because I'm going to bank on the fact that you're going to be a chump and a sheep and you're going to run out there with the rest of the herd and I ain't going to be in there. I'll be in there a little bit. I'll be in there kind of mixing and matching a little bit and taking some one-offs and stuff, but I'm not going to be in there with, say the chalk says that the Yankee stacks or Coors Field, obviously, with Colorado, is, going to be 25, 30% core stacks across the industry tonight. Well, I'll be on about 10% of them because I don't want to fight the lineups out with, thousands of you guys in the big GPPs. I would rather put the bulk of my lineups in the leverage spots that get away from that chalk. When the chalk fails, as it does so often in baseball, I will be set up for the alternate stuff to happen, the alternate stuff to go off, the Oakland stacks, the White Sox stacks, the Padres stacks, etc. Those types of situations, the LA stacks tonight, I don't think they're going to be too terribly chalky. If they are, great. But if they're going to carry lower ownership than they should, like say 10%, then I'm going to be on 20% Angels stacks, hoping that this sheet led me in the right direction as well as away from the herd. I'm going to use the optimizer to adjust those ownerships and those team stacks and those ownership projections. After I'm going to run it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes I might run it for 2 hours off and on when I'm trying to get things exactly the way I want them to go. And your professional DFS players do the same thing. They don't just run it once and take it and go dump it in. That's lazy. And at DFS Army, we teach you not to be lazy. We teach you how to think like a pro, how to build lineups like a pro, because that's what's going to make you a better player. So my recommendation to you, head down to the comment section, click the link, dfsarmy.com. Use that coupon code CHOP, like, subscribe, notify yourself of future videos that are dropping to your phone so that you can get this information each day we put it out. Come in here and use all of the coaches for all of the sports for one price and become a better player today. You won't regret it. I'm Chop It On. It's been Tuesday, August 4th. I'm out of here. I'm going to go build some lineups.